I would love if you get on your feet, you got loud, and you welcome to the stage Mr. Ryan Dreyer.
Thanks, bro. Thank you. Let's go. Woo. Let's get this cooking right here. Let's get this cooking. We're good here. We're good. All right. Hello and welcome. Woo! Man, I'm fired up. I'm honored to be here. I got to start this with a warning, okay? I need to warn every single person in this room. Where's James Westby? I spoke last year, and James was here in the audience. And at the time of my speech, James was signed up for his first 70.3. 70.3 North Carolina, it was coming up in October. And after my speech, James felt inspired. He felt like taking action. He felt like being bold. And in this room, he signed up for Ironman Lake Placid. Now, I don't know if you guys have noticed what James has been wearing all weekend, but I sure have. This dude did an Ironman. Congratulations, James. It is dope to see you do that, and it is dope to know that you are not done. Your process continues. And so my warning to all of you is that there will be at least one person in this room. There will be at least one person in this room that will be radically changed in the next 30 minutes. It might be Zach Shipley. Might be Jake Shields. Might be Brian Ironheimer. Or it might be any of you. And with that being said, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to Zach. Thank you to Petey for this opportunity. My name is Ryan Dreyer, and I am a husband, I am a father, and I am the founder of Tribal Training. This is my crew. That's my little homie, Jack. He's just over one. And that is my wife, Chels, and I. And it's amazing to be back here at the Do Hard Things Conference for the third year. Let's get a show of hands. Who's here for the first time this year? Oh my goodness. Let's go. Man, I was telling Zach, I said the physiques have been upgraded in year 3. And I know that the folks who have been here have been beefing up, but the first timers brought some heat, no doubt about that. Who's been here? Who's second timer? Second timer. Keep them up if you've been here all 3 times. Amazing. Well, I got the opportunity to speak last year, and for the second and third timers, you heard me speak on endurance. And I spoke on how endurance develops character, and how endurance forces experiences on you that develop your skill set, that elevate your perception of yourself, and what you take on in life. And it was pretty easy for me to decide on that topic because for a lot of guys here, like, I am the endurance guy. I coached Zach to his first Ironman, got a few core pieces of tribal training here. Dylan Spina, Mike Donatelli, Stefanos, my dad. And as I was thinking about what I'm going to speak on for year 2, I was like, I'm going to talk on adapt and overcome. Adapt and overcome, that's the tribal motto that was born this year. And adapt and overcome, it's all about rolling with the punches of life, being flexible, not getting rattled, focusing on what you can control, not needing perfect conditions, and taking action towards your goals. But then my family started going to church. And that message that Petey kicked off with last night, I mean, that's me. I got baptized this year. And on Father's Day, myself, Chelsea, and Jack, we started going to church. And a couple weeks after that, we're at church for the third time. And I'm a little bit like getting comfortable. I've been here a couple of times, but also I'm going to church. What is going on? Am I out of place? Am I in place? I can't believe I'm going to church. And my pastor, we're going through Acts in church right now. And he starts going through Acts, and he reads Acts 4:13. And boom, a new message hits me square in the heart. Nothing coming from the side, nothing clipping my ear. This was a heart shot. And the reason that I'm so excited to deliver this today is because I actually haven't really been teaching this actively inside a tribal this year. But as I thought on it, I realized this has been present in every single athlete victory. It's been absent in every single athlete loss. And the same has been true in my own fitness, my own family, my own personal goals. What I'm going to speak on today is entering action with boldness. Now, throughout the entire past year, there's been one recurring problem that so many of my athletes have faced. And this has been the all or nothing mindset. I see guys say, hey, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy. I want to do something big. And they think it's a strength. But how I see it playing out is, oh, a guy can run a marathon on no training, but he can't stick to a 6-month program. I can see a guy fast for 72 hours, but he can't stop snacking at 10 in the morning on Tuesday. I can see someone think of the biggest business idea, but they can't take a single step forward. And so we think that the hard thing is the extreme action, but really the hard thing is extreme conviction and a touch of patience. Now I'm going to tell you about boldness, but let me first tell you about its counterpart, timidness. Here's what timidness sounds like. I'm trying to eat a little cleaner. I'm trying to drink a little less. I'm thinking about starting a side hustle, a creative project, making content, writing online. I'm considering signing up for a race. Or here are some examples that I hear from athletes inside tribal when I'm lifting them up. I'm going to try to go for a run this afternoon. I think I'm going to head to the pool. I'm hoping to get on the bike later. And what happens next? Our timidness infects our actions. We put up zeros, we blame other people, and we point at external conditions as to why we're coming up short on the goals that we have for our lives. We end up saying work is so busy, no one around me's into fitness, all my friends have given up on their lives. And here's another thing, not only does timidness infect our actions, but it tells us and everybody around us that we're not sure. And so I told you guys, Acts 4:13 is where I got this, so I'm going to just read this off to you. Acts is all about the early formation of the church. If you want to learn deep lessons on it, I know a guy who could deliver it to you. But right here we got, now when they saw the boldness of Peter and John and perceived that they were uneducated common men, they were astonished. and they recognized they had been with Jesus. So here's how I perceive that. Peter and John, they're trying to do something hard. They're trying to do something challenging. They're trying to make something new. And they got a lot of haters around them, doubting them, putting up resistance. And all these doubters around them, they knew Peter and John, they were just average dudes. They were just average dudes, nothing special, except for the fact that they were bold. And their boldness changed everything. I'd like to call that spiritual empowerment. And I got one more text example that I want to hit you with before I get into a couple of stories of this playing out in my life. Any Robert Greene fans in the room? We got 48 Laws of Power here. And I ain't gonna lie, this is where I stole the title of the speech. This is Law 28, and the law is titled, Enter Action with Boldness. If you are unsure of a course of action, do not attempt it. Your doubts and hesitations will infect your execution. Timidity is dangerous. Better to enter with boldness. Any mistakes you commit through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. Everyone admires the bold. No one honors the timid. That reminded me of what Feinberg said yesterday, the reversal. You slip up, dog, not time to retreat. Double down, let's go. So now I gotta tell you guys about the boldest thing I did this year. Mike D alluded to it. I took 9 athletes into the desert to run Zion 100. Now, I'd never run 100 miles myself. And only one guy in the group had done it, Louie. Shout out to Louie. And our goal wasn't just to run 100 miles. It was to start together, to run together, and to finish together, and for tribal training, to go 10 for 10 as a team. Now, the mission was bold, but it wasn't just the mission that was bold, it was the way that I spoke about it. I said, tribal training is going 10 for 10 at Zion. And I said it over and over and over again. I was posting Instagrams, I was tweeting, I was saying it in my sleep. Tribal training is going 10 for 10 at Zion. Tribal training is going 10 for 10 at Zion. Tribal training is going 10 for 10 at Zion. Well, I had some friends asking me, what are you going to do if someone doesn't make it? What's your plan B? I said, plan B? I don't have a plan B. We're going 10 for 10. And if things go sideways, we will adapt and overcome. Enter action with boldness. Well, if you know anything about Zion, you know things went sideways. Big time. Being bold only gets you so far. The goal was 10 for 10, but we didn't even have 10 athletes start. We had a guy get sick the night before, ended up in the ER. And of the 9 that started, only 3 finished. But in our boldness, we still claimed victory because of our boldness. We were fully committed. We went for it. And entering action with boldness, it allowed everyone that was there to learn deep and meaningful life lessons that they could bring back to their training, their family, their work, their life, their own development. That's the hero's journey. We lived it. A couple quick lessons that we had learned. aggressive action ain't the solution long term. Team spirit can take you and the people around you further than you can go alone. Serving others makes the experience more meaningful and rewarding. We learned that it's important to not let the finish line define you. And we learned that through humility and defeat, you can come out victorious. But at the same time, and I'm a coach, I'm a competitor. I failed. I made mistakes. And what did Law 28 say? Any mistakes you commit through audacity are easily corrected with more audacity. So here's what I did next. Before I even left Zion, I had another 100 on the calendar, and it was in 6 weeks. Timidness would have been waiting another year. It would have been doubting our strategy. It would have been hesitating to get another rep. Boldness was saying, I failed. Cool. I learned a ton. Let's go again. And 6 weeks later, I ran my first 100. Interaction with boldness. Now, I got to tell you how the same lesson applies on my business side, because so many of us here want to build businesses, right? We want to scale things, we want to start things, and I got to just tell you how this same exact thing is showing up in the way that I'm building Tribal. So the Zion experience was such a smashing success that every single athlete wanted to run something like that back again. And so many athletes inside of Tribal that weren't even there, man, they felt like they missed out, and they wanted in on the next one. So I worked with Zach, I built out an upsell VIP package, and I got 15 people bought in and directed towards Antelope Canyon 100 on March 7th and 8th of 2025. Couple quick adjustments to the plan. We're gonna do groups of 3. We're not gonna try to run as a pack of 10. That was a little bit much. And we're gonna offer the option for some athletes to run 50 miles or 50K if that is more their speed. So we're all good to go. We're waiting for race registration to go live in June. And all of a sudden, on the race site, the 100's not there anymore. I'm like, maybe they're just changing the route. They're just tweaking something on the back end. I'm sure it'll be good. Race registration goes live. 100's not an option. We kind of need the 100. Right away, I've got doubt. I feel that timidness creep in. I'm like, I gotta make a new decision. The thing I was banking on is no longer there for me. And I'm looking around at other options in kind of the first half of the year, and for logistical reasons, it's looking kind of tight. Not really seeing an obvious solution to defer to. And again, I can feel that timidness. I can feel that hesitation. I can feel that doubt. And so I decide, man, I gotta really step forward here. I gotta be bold. And I don't like any of these options. So you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna host my own race. I'm gonna put on the Tribal 100. I'm gonna do something I've been dreaming of for a while, and I'm gonna jump on this opportunity. And as soon as I tell the group, man, almost every single person's like, dude, I love that idea, and I'd love to help in any way that I can, which is amazing. But that don't block the timidness. That don't block the doubt. That doesn't stop the hesitation, because now I've got new problems to solve, right? Now I got to figure out permits, route, parking, aid stations. Do I promote it? Is it only a Tribal thing? Is it an external thing? And I feel myself creating excuses as to why I shouldn't just step forward. But I decided to keep taking bold action. I send out an email to the race director of my 100. I'm like, hey man, I'm looking to do this. Would you be willing to jump on a call and help me out? Give me some tips. Boom, interaction with boldness. This guy jumps on a call, gives me the full blueprint. I got an athlete inside a tribal. He's a wildland firefighter with the Pikes Peak Ranger District. I come to him with the idea. He's like, dude, I know everybody you need to talk to about permits. I know every single route we need. Boom. By entering action with boldness, all of a sudden sources of support are just revealing themselves organically. You know when I'm not feeling any support? When I'm timid. And when I'm on my heels. But by stepping forward, all of a sudden people see and they're like, oh yeah, man. Let me help you out. Let me throw you a bone. Right? And I'm live in that process right now. If you come next year, I'll tell you how the story ends, but I don't know how it ends right now. Now, let me tell you about the boldest thing that happened to me this year. So my dad is here. My dad is here. It's his first time at the conference. It's the first time that he's seeing me speak. And it's a really big deal for me. It's a really big deal for me. And here's why. I'm 31 years old, and from the time I was about 20 to 30, my dad and I had a really big gap in our relationship. And we tried a couple of times, man, we tried. We tried to do group therapy. We thought about getting together for the holidays. We considered going to the same family gatherings. But nothing ever stuck. Man, I look back now and I'm like, dude, we were timid. We had doubt. We had hesitation. We wanted it, but we were timid. So what changed? How is my dad here? So earlier this year, I guess it was last year, my dad and I are talking, and my dad comes to me and he goes, I want to do a 70.3, and I want you to coach me. Fucking interaction with boldness. Man, whoo! I said, alrighty then. My dad didn't own a bike. Never done endurance. He's 53 years old. And his bold action, man, it put us on the same team for the first time in a decade. We were working together towards a shared goal. We got to support each other. We created experiences that moved us closer together and towards this monumental challenge. And in the process, and on Chattanooga 70.3 race day, my dad and I mended years of pain, distance, anger by entering action with boldness. So far I've told you about how entering action with boldness has led my team towards personal growth through competition, how it's led myself bounce back from failure, how it's helped me build opportunity and generate revenue in my business, and how it's helped me strengthen and rebuild family relationships. Now I got two more stories that show how entering boldness has helped athletes of mine become leaders in their community and elevate professionally, all becoming higher versions of themselves along the way. First, I got to tell you about Keith Marcus. Keith is 43. He's married with 2 boys, and he lives in a rural dirt road town in Missouri. He runs a family grocery that's been in his family for generations. And in 2022, Keith's childhood best friend, his name's Steve, he gets diagnosed with stage 3 throat cancer. And the odds were not in his favor. And all year, Keith gets a front row seat to Steve, showing up for checkups, appointments, treatment, showing up as a dad and a husband at the same time, and winning at work along the way. He's positive, he's action-oriented, he's present in the process, he's entering action with boldness. Well, in November 2022, Steve beat cancer. And that victory, it made Keith realize, I'm settling a little bit in life. I got more to give. And this is where the story gets crazy. Keith and Steve, they're hanging around a bonfire. They're celebrating Steve's victory. And this is the same night as Ironman Florida 2022. Keith's following the tribal guys on Twitter. He's been following the journey. He's tracking guys on the Ironman app. And all the homies start crossing the finish line. Mike D comes in. Zach comes in. Spina comes in. Adam Sikora, 6'11", 270 pounds, crosses an Ironman finish line. And in that moment, Keith realizes, I have more to give in life, and doing an Ironman would make me give it. Keith enters action with boldness. He had 0 swim, bike, run experience, but he joins the tribe, syncs up with me, gets moving on training, and right away, goons from his hometown start chirping. They start saying, man, I know you can't do that. Man, that's not you can't swim. But Keith just says, I'm gonna be able to do this. I have a coach, I have a plan, I'm doing the work, and come November, I will become an Ironman. And so Keith starts chipping away. He stays bold. He keeps doing the work. About 6 months go by, and the goons are quiet. The goons are quiet. Sort of like Peter and John in Acts 4:13, the doubters are a bit astonished. They're a bit astonished. And the cool thing is that Keith's been bold, but it ain't been a heroic effort. He's just been steady. He's been consistent. He's been showing up and doing the work when it's a lot easier not to. Now, there are 3 things that I know about Keith's hometown in Collins, Missouri. I know they got dirt roads that he runs. I know that he runs the family grocery. And I know that they love high school basketball. And October rolls around, and the local high school basketball coach, he'd been watching Keith from afar. And he decides, I want to have Keith come speak to the team on commitment and consistency as this team embarks on a season where they got state title hopes. What an opportunity, man. We talk about being involved in our community. We talk about being leaders. We want these opportunities, but we want them with an in and out. We want the input to give us the output, right? Oh, I wish I could do that. You think this was a dream of Keith's when he decided to do an Ironman? It wasn't on his mind. But inspiring young kids, being involved in his community, that's part of his passion, man. He wants to do that. And look at the opportunity that presented himself by being bold in his actions. So Keith speaks to the team, shares his lessons, his wisdom, living out the hero's journey in real time. And Keith goes on to crush the Ironman. Now, here's where the story gets extremely real. 2 weeks after Ironman Florida, Keith's nephew, who was on the basketball team and who was named after Keith, tragically passes away in a car accident. And Keith's entire family is devastated. They're devastated. And as Keith is bearing the grief himself, while at the same time trying to support his family and bear their load, he turns to the high school basketball team. And he says, me and my brother, we're going to be at every single game. We're going to be front row. And we're going to cheer for these boys like our life depends on it. And this team, man, they go on a run. Keith and his family, they're at every single game. These boys go all the way to the state title. And Keith has used this season and this community that he'd been welcomed into to rally and provide for his family when they absolutely needed it more than they ever imagined in life. And so these boys, they go to the state title game. They come up a couple points short, but the season is a smashing success. And as Keith is looking to transition his family right into a new season of life, put the basketball season behind them, he gets hit up by the coach. Coach shoots him a text, hey Keith, you got a minute to chat? Keith hits him back, yeah man, what's up, give me a buzz. Hey Keith, I want you to be an assistant coach on the team. Keith has to pick his jaw up off the floor, recognizing the opportunity that's been presented to him. And he says, let me chat with my family. So he talks to his wife. She's like, you got to do it. He feels that timidness though, right? He feels that timidness. He feels that doubt. He thinks about the hours it's going to take, right? You thought an Ironman was a lot. What about when we got after school practice every day? He talks to his brother and his dad who run the family grocery with him. And you know what they say? You gotta do it. And we'll pick up the slack. They didn't say they're picking up the slack when he said, I want to do an Ironman. But he proved himself, man. He'd been bold all year long with his words, with his actions, with his goals, with who he is, who he wants to be. And again, that support started to show up a little bit. And now, Keith, of course, accepts the job. And to bring Keith's story full circle. So last month, Keith texts me. He's like, dude, you will not believe it. Sends me a screenshot. His buddy, Steve, the one whose first action with boldness inspired Keith's action with boldness, and now Keith's boldness in the Ironman, in leading his family, in becoming a coach on the team. Steve wants to do his first triathlon. And so next month, Keith and Steve, they'll be taking on a sprint tri in Missouri, and they're going to take that thing down, man. That's just real life. That's real life. And so, we want to be these leaders in our community. We want to be these role models for our family, our friends. If we want to do that, we got to enter action with boldness. Now, I got one final story to share here, and this is really the most important part of entering action with boldness, because I talk to a lot of folks who are interested in endurance, right? We've been talking about Ironmans, we've been talking about 100 milers, mentioning 70.3s. When I talk to folks on endurance, most of the time I hear something along the lines of, dude, I'd never have the time for that. I could never do that, right? The expectations of the hours, right? We create this idea in our mind that it has to be so big. And this whole story right here is about lowering the bar. So I got an athlete, Matt Dalton. He's 32 years old. He's got a wife. He's got 3 kids under 4. Oh, and he's a lawyer. So this dude ain't exactly walking around with free time. And he's been super into his personal development. Like, he's been building on himself for years. He had a rock bottom. He's been fighting back. He's been doing big things. But he knows there's another level for him. He knows there's another level for him. And he wants to do a 70.3. And he hits me up in November, right after Keith's Ironman Florida. And he says, dude, I've had this 70.3 goal for 3 years, but I don't know that I can do it. Right? I can feel the timidness in his voice. He's got this crystal clear vision, 70.3. He's been thinking of it for 3 years. But he doesn't know if he can do it physically, and he has no idea how he could fit it into his schedule. And I can feel the doubt and hesitation through him on the phone. And so I hit him straight. Matt Dalton, you can do this, and I will get you there. I could sense his timidness, so I decided to bring the boldness and remind him, dude, the fact that you just want to do this is the sign that you can. And so we set our sights on Chattanooga 70.3. Races in May. It's about 6 months away. And I want to show you guys how his training unfolds. December 1st, he starts. First 3 months of training, you might have to zoom in on that. Average time per week, 2 hours and 51 minutes. That's less than 3 hours a week. Would more be better? Sure. But the dude's got 3 kids under 4, and he's a lawyer, and he's wanting to be present for his wife. So let's do what we can here, right? And so we use this first season of training. This is all about getting comfortable with 3-sport training. Let's learn the logistics of how to even manage swim, bike, and run. And let's build a little bit of base of fitness that we could maybe launch off of. And right away, he's more confident. He's showing up for himself when he has every excuse not to. I'm seeing this dude do stuff at 4 a.m. I'm seeing him do stuff at 10 p.m. He's showing up, right? Very much because the goal has been made attainable. The bar has been lowered. You look online for a 70.3 training plan, it's going to tell you need 12 hours a week. Dog, Matt Dalton doesn't have 12 hours a week. And right away, his wife is feeling his leadership of his family elevating in real time. And on top of all that, he sees a huge revenue spike at his law practice. Dude starts to win instantly. So 12 weeks go by, and now we're 10 weeks out from race day. And that's going to be the graph on the right here. Average time, 5 hours, 54 minutes a week. That's less than an hour a day with a rest day. Right? How many people have told themselves they'd love to do a 70.3, they'd love to do an Ironman, but man, I don't have 15 hours. I don't have 20 hours. Dog, you don't have realistic expectations of what training can be. And so now we're in the push the race day, right? Because you got to push the race day. How's Dalton feeling? He's dialed in. His confidence is taking off like a rocket ship. He's feeling like an athlete for the first time in a decade. He's getting back some of that athletic victory that he felt he left on the table when he stopped playing basketball in college. He's winning with his wife and kids. Oh, and he's made partner at his law firm. In November, this dude said, I don't know if I can do this physically. I don't know if I can schedule this. And boom, what have we seen? Wins in the family. wins in his own perception of himself, feeling like an athlete again, winning at work, made partner. Come on. And I got to tell you, this is probably my favorite part of his story. He's telling me this story. One day he goes into court, and this is like in the peak of the build, right? So he's taken down the final couple of sessions, man. He's feeling like $1 million. He says he walks into the courtroom one day, and the opposing lawyer walks in, and he says, this guy's 300 pounds. And he goes, I look at this dude, and I know, I'm going to kill this guy. He smokes him in court, wins the case. Dude is entering action with boldness and winning at life. So Matt Dalton's race day rolls around. And this dude balls out. He has challenges, no doubt. But he overcomes obstacles. He has a lot of fun. Feels like an athlete the whole time. And he crosses the finish line. Here's how this story ends. Matt Dalton, he shows up to work the first day after the race, and to his surprise, his name is on the building. Come on. So this is my challenge for you. Whatever your goal is, whether it's in fitness, family, finances, endurance, being involved in your community, starting a side hustle, making content, stop trying to hit a home run. Lower the bar. Get on base and enter action with boldness. Thank you.